before I start, I want to do a quick survey. How many of the audience is actually developer? Could you raise your hand if you're a developer? Okay, I need to change my pitch to a non-developer audience, I guess. My name is Scott. I come from Silicon Valley, so this is actually 20 degrees hotter than Silicon Valley, San Francisco. Kite AI is building an economic layer for agentic AI. A little bit about myself. I spent last 15 years building foundational data and AI infrastructure. Before Kite AI, I co-founded a streaming DB company. Before that, I worked at Uber, built Uber first skill.ai. You can think of that actually provide labeled data for AI. And then grow the team from myself to 200 people. I also was a founding engineer at Salesforce Einstein, which is the first Salesforce Einstein AI and data cloud. That's my background. I spent last 15 years in foundational data and AI infrastructure. My co-founder, she got her PhD from Berkeley. She co-founded, she was one of the founding engineer Data, one of the largest AutoML company before. She was the lead product manager at Databricks before, which is also a data infrastructure. So we have been building Kite AI since 2022, and we are backed by the world-class investor like General Catalyst, PayPal, 8VC, Hash and Husky, and Samsung Next. And then our work, our infrastructure and our work has been approved and used by our partners, for example, on 3 Eigenlayer and Story. So we have been in this ecosystem for 3 years. Why now? For last month, actually I spent 2 days build a very simple personal agent, help me do all the work, including order Uber Eats, do the deep research. In this case, everything run locally. My personal agent is actually a very simple agent, but empowered by Kite AI service agent. Not only now I can use my agent to help me do all the work, I can see exactly end-to-end transparency as well. So agentic AI will be super cycle. This will be AI super cycle, not 5 years from now. Exactly today. This is not feasible 6 months ago, but since 4 months ago, we have DeepSeek released this logical chain, and then now you have all this OpenAI Anthropic release the model. And today, last week, we have this Q10 release the newest model, which is already reached a closed source model performance. So what is actually issue for AI agent? In the future, I think every single action is actually going to be done by AI agent. You want your AI agent to do a research, for example, which token going to rise in this case. If you want your AI agent help you do a research, maybe in diabetes, it should be done the work for you. It will call different research paper. It will call an API to do a summary, maybe do some inference and upload the result in Google Doc. The key part is that you don't want to stand in the way of the AI. You want the AI to do all the work for you. As a human, the only thing you want to do for AI is that you want to authorize the agent, and you want to make sure approve the spending if the agent spend under your budget. So that's why there is a huge gap for AI to use, agentic AI to operate, to transact. The gap is that the AI need to have an ID to hold accountable. Without ID, AI cannot be held accountable. So that's why first for agent, you need an ID. Once you have an ID, you need to have a wallet for AI. They can spend autonomously and transactionally. All the existing infrastructure are not built for agentic AI. If you think about currently the credit card, it's either 3% of credit card fee or 35 cents minimum charge. But in the work of agentic AI, most of the action going to be just maybe a small API call, 2 cents of the data research, 1 cent of inference. So that's why all the existing infrastructure are not built for agentic AI. Additionally, I would argue the hardest problem for adoption of the agent is trust. How do you make sure, as a user, I trust my agent? How do I make sure agent to agent call I trust in this case? So that's arguably one of the hardest problem to prevent the mass adoption of agentic AI. So that's why Kite AI is here to not only assign ID to the agent, but end-to-end verify and end-to-end transparency, provide end-to-end transparency for the agent. So Kite AI is basically economic layer for the agentic AI. Use blockchain word, it's blockchain for AI. It's very different than AI for blockchain. AI for blockchain, maybe you're building an AI agent to your particularly deep, DEX or particularly use case. But blockchain for AI is that we want to provide a foundation for AI. In this case, AI agent may come here looking for the service agent they need, exchange for service and exchange payment for the service. So in this case, you have value chain, which as an agent, you may not actually know what's going to do next because the next step maybe actually depends on previous step. You don't actually know the dynamic attribution beforehand. So you exchange for service and for payment. So that's why you have an AI value chain, AI payment chain. So that's what Kite AI is for. We want to make sure hold every single agent accountable. So we will assign an ID to agent. And I would arguably, like similar to 15 years ago with mobile age, you actually want to put all the difficult logic and the heavy computation in the server side. So in this case, the personal agent is actually more like a privacy. You make sure your money is secure, but the heavy lifting, the actual work is done by the service agent. So Kite AI is a platform to provide agent-to-agent trust, focus on provide a service agent to serve your personal agent. The service agent can be just a data provider. For example, if you want to book a holiday party with your teammates, in this case, you may want to read some Yelp data, find the best hotel for you in Dubai. It could be like a GPO. I may need to do scientific research. I need 2-hour H100 GPU. In this case, I can give my requirement to the GPU provider and say, hey, help me find a 2-hour GPU or cheapest time in this case. Notice that each of these requirements, the service level agreement is different. For GPU, it's probably time to first token or token throughput. For this Uber ordering, it's more about Uber order completion, order accuracy. So each of the service agreement between your personal agent to the service agent is different. All this need to be programmable. So that's why Kite AI provides a layer 1 infrastructure for you to deploy, customize the smart contract between your personal agent to the service agent. So Kite AI, if you look at the architecture for Kite AI, will actually be very modular and composable. In this case, you can reuse the data for different purposes. For example, I gave you a concrete example before. In Uber, there are only probably 30 base tables. You have a table to have trips related data. You have a table with rider data. You have users payment data. Then use a combination of different table. It's a composable. It's like you use data like a Lego piece, and for different use case. You can use trips data and riders data and say if this rider is actually first-time cash rider. It could be like you have a first-time cash rider trying to rob the Uber. In this case, you probably need trips data, riders information data, credit card data to make sure you don't have malicious rider trying to rob the driver. In this case, but you can use the same trips data and GPS data to build a collision detection. This is actually 2 projects I built at Uber. If I'm taking an Uber from here to the airport and I have a car accident, Uber will call me. Uber will call my driver and call 911 at the same time to make sure I got 911 the first hand immediately. So in this case, it's basically use a composable, the same data, trips data, rider information data for completely different use case. So that's why Kite AI is built as an ecosystem or a subnet. So the same data can be used in completely different use case. So we have a subnet or data subnet, and we also have an agent and service subnet in this case. So we want to have a rich ecosystem subnet. So you have this 1 + 1 larger than 3 effect. Why do we need a purpose-built layer 1? So Kite AI is actually a layer 1 plus additional infrastructure we need to calculate for attribution, contribution, and then verification. You cannot, first is that AI compute share very different than financial transaction. If you think about financial transaction, the thing you care about is that asset security. How much asset is transferred? And in this case, you can wait for a few seconds or even few minutes for the asset to be finalized, and the finality time can be anywhere between 60 minutes for Bitcoin or few seconds in this case. But using AI is sharing completely different traits. For AI inference, you want to get less than 100 milliseconds. And also, you probably only take 1/10 or 1/100 of the financial transaction cost. you don't want to pay for $2 just doing an inference in this case, because each task actually going to anywhere between, when I build my local agent, each task can anywhere between, 20 steps to 50 steps in this case. You want to actually get it at affordable price. You don't want to actually get it at a very expensive price. Second is that not only you want to execute this inference on execution layer, you also want to have end-to-end transparency and verifiable. You want to make sure all the inference provide my service agent be able to verify. And then this should be done by a settlement layer. Again, very different than financial transaction. You want to verify it there in this case. And at last, that the consensus layer is very different. If we think about Ethereum today, Ethereum is giving $4 billion block rewards to 1 million validator doing exactly the same thing. Just attestation, verified attestation. But we want to redirect 90% of this block reward to AI contributor. In this case, that's why we need a consensus layer. First is that end-to-end calculate what's the attribution or contribution from the AI contributor. Second is that redirect 90% block reward to the AI contributor. So that's why Kite AI actually going to build AI compute as a first-class citizen. This including either AI compute as a first-class compute citizen along with transaction. We also track the AI compute volume as the receipt to receive these block rewards. If you look at the data structure from transaction and AI compute is very different as well. Transaction, you mainly spend on who is spending what money. But if you look at AI compute, you have a large size of input, and it could be like a multimodal. It could be the text to video, video to video. It could have video model. And today, now most of the models support long context. You can put this whole Shakespeare in the input and then let your model, produce output. So in this case, AI compute as a first-class citizen will be very different than financial transactions. All the existing layer one, all the existing blockchain is built as the financial transaction. They are not built for AI-related compute. So at the end of the day, if we look at from product perspective, so Kite AI unlock composability, monetization, and the liquidity of AI assets. In this case, we're going to have a marketplace of AI service, agent service provider. So if you're building agent, if you're building a service for agent, if you're providing data service, come to talk with us. We already have top builders from near ecosystem, BitTensor joining us in this case, and then provide a service agent to serve AI user. Second is that every single component in Kite AI is built as composable. So in this case, you may use the data from vendor A, you may use some data from another provider B and have this 1 + 1 larger than 3 effect. The last part is that we want to foster a vibrant DeFi ecosystem. And then this is actually an AI platform we're going to release in less than 2 months. So in this case, you can see if you're a service provider, for example, I built my personal Uber agent service. It helped me call the Uber. It helped me order Uber Eats. In this case, we're going to release a demo and a website for this. In this case, for example, if you want to build an agent service, if you want to build a data service, you can come to us and then build this service. And all this service is actually to target agent-to-agent service or agent-to-data service. At the end of the day, I think not in 5 years, not in 10 years, in next 24 months, most of the work probably going to done by your agent. So in this case, you just need to authorize and prove for the action for the agent. Kite AI released our first version of testnet less than 3 months ago. We already have 5 million wallet actually on top of us, interact with us, and we have more than billions agent inference call on top of us. So, again, so if you're an AI builder, if you know someone actually building service for agent, if you're interested in agent-to-agent talk, or if you for example, if you just have some data you think is going to be very valuable for the agent, come to talk with us, and then please join Kite AI ecosystem. That concludes my presentation. Thanks, folks.